Voilà. On va donc vous présenter les conclusions. Donc, ce n'est pas un rapport complet, c'est simplement des conclusions qui reprennent des points importants qui ont été abordés au cours de la journée. Je vais laisser la parole à Daniel Vossès qui va vous les lire. Et après, on laissera quand même un temps s'il y a une possibilité de poser certaines questions ou de faire certains commentaires. Merci.
Merci, Beatrice, and thank you well, we've been trying to come up with some conclusions, and the document was in different languages, so I hope that is understandable what I'm reading. It's obviously some draft ideas that we will share with all participants, and hopefully it will reflect the debate and all the presentations that we had today. That was very rich and very enlightening. So I think that we can all agree that this meeting is a starting point, and the objective was above all to better understand each other's positions and issues, and receive a lot of information from different stakeholders that normally we don't get this type of information, so it's good in that case. So the debate starts today, and all presentations and everyone contact emails and details will be shared with everyone. In the coming months, we will continue the debate on this subject within the Long Distance Advisory Council, with the aim to gradually providing an answer to the questions posed by the representative from the European Commission, but also involving partners from COMAFAT, the African Union, and AfriFish. We saw today examples of good practices showing that joint ventures can contribute not only to as a catching activity, but also as processing activities and the marketing of the products. Examples were given about Mauritania, Nigeria, Namibia, Mozambique. I think we have quite a few examples, which is quite good. And these activities, they have contributed to the society, to food security, and even the culture in some cases we saw in these countries. We have seen that these activities can be a source of added value to local populations, but we also saw cases where joint ventures have weakened food security, for example, concerning the processing of fish and into fish meal or fish oil, or irresponsible practices in the waters of third countries. Today, we have also shared the vision of African countries regarding the setup and the operations of these joint ventures, with areas for consideration that should apply to all joint ventures, regardless of the origin. And in this context, several recommendations were put forward, such as, for instance, the need to enforce the rules and the laws concerning the constitution and operations of joint ventures, the development of a legal framework at the level of African countries applicable to all companies, whatever the country or the origin or the effective beneficial owner. So that yeah, so we need these rules to make sure that the constitution of joint ventures respects international principles like the access to only the surplus, and are not in competition with local artisanal fishing, and actually contribute to local economies and food security. There's also a recommendation to provide support for infrastructure development and capacity building, also support for sustainable investments that benefit both African and European countries, including the transfer of technologies. Also improve access to markets, for example, by developing certification. There was also general agreement on the need to have more transparency to ensure that mixed companies, joint ventures, operate sustainably. In this context, it is necessary in particular to revise at African level the Uniform Act on commercial companies, and
les groupes d'intérêt économique.
And the groups of economic interests. to introduce the legal form of joint ventures and information on the owners and effective ownership, beneficial ownership of these joint ventures. Spain was one of the good examples provided today, for instance, with the commitment to have a register, or well, not the commitment, they already have a register of joint ventures, and this was welcomed by all participants. Although it was mentioned that efforts should be renewed to revamp a little bit the register. And it was suggested and recommended that all European countries should follow this example from Spain, collecting and publishing information on the joint ventures and the ownership. As for the European Union, it was recalled that fishing partnership agreements, the SFPAs, they promote the creation of joint ventures, given the role they play in third countries. And in this context, African stakeholders suggested to include the standards to ensure that this constitution of these joint ventures, they meet the fishing criteria and fishing standards promoted by the European Union. It is hoped that the European Union will take joint ventures into consideration and value their role and find ways to promote their operations and actions in these third countries. In that sense, I believe the participants, they appraise and recognize the role played by the joint ventures in third countries. And this can be done, for instance, by including them within the external dimension of the CFP. That was one of the recommendations provided by representatives from the sector. And this because of the strategic geopolitical role that they play in the third countries. And for instance, by contributing to food security, employment, research, innovation, know-how, and knowledge sharing. It was also suggested to provide incentives to promote sustainable investments in third countries. For instance, granting privileged custom. We saw, for instance, the fast track provided by the Spanish authorities to customs. Also to include joint ventures within the Global Gateway program, enhance the legal certainty for these companies in third countries, particularly those receiving development aid, and also to provide them with better access to financing of the European Investment Bank. So I hope I made a good job. We made a good job in summarizing a little bit the discussions. Again, this is a concept note, and you will be receiving a more detailed conclusions on the conference. Thank you very much.
Merci Daniel. Effectivement, c'est un exercice particulier parce qu'on n'a que quelques minutes pour essayer de mettre des points ensemble. Je voulais vous proposer, il reste un peu de temps, s'il y a quelques questions ou des commentaires sur ce qui a été présenté. Non, tout le monde est content? Tout le monde est convaincu, tout le monde est content? Bon, en tout cas, pardon? Tout le monde est fatigué, ok. Non, je crois que ce qui est important, c'est ce que Daniel a dit pour commencer, c'est le début, non? Donc, je crois qu'on a énormément d'informations, on sait un peu mieux quelles sont les positions des uns et des autres, quels sont les objectifs des uns et des autres. Et je crois qu'effectivement, dans les mois qui viennent, voire les années qui viennent, parce qu'on nous a expliqué hier, pour ceux qui n'étaient pas là, qu'il y avait tout un processus d'évaluation et de révision de la politique européenne de pêche qui est en cours. Et donc, je crois que ce genre de discussion, de réflexion qui va aboutir, on l'espère, à des avis qu'on enverra à la Commission, va pouvoir contribuer à la discussion sur la révision et éventuellement, enfin, sur le changement de politique européenne des pêches par rapport aux sociétés mixtes. Donc, je crois que c'est très bien. Je crois que ce serait important, effectivement, de vraiment partager l'information avec tout le monde, que toutes les présentations soient envoyées à tout le monde, que les contacts soient échangés avec tout le monde. Et effectivement, on a ces partenariats déjà avec la Comafat et avec AfriFish. Personnellement, j'étais vraiment extrêmement heureuse de voir l'Union africaine, le Dr Sally être avec des nôtres aujourd'hui. Et j'espère qu'on pourra même éventuellement voir la possibilité d'avoir aussi un partenariat de ce genre-là avec l'Union africaine, parce que je crois que le dialogue est extrêmement important avec les pays africains. Et je crois que c'est ce qu'on a fait aujourd'hui. Merci.